Mary redeemed a $50,000 cash prize playing Chumba Casino online.
I was only playing for fun, so winning was a dream come true.
Chumba Casino is America's favorite free online social casino. You too could have the chance to win life-changing cash prizes. Absolutely anybody could be like Mary. Be like Mary. Log on to ChumbaCasino.com and play for free now. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details. The voice in the preceding commercial was not the actual voice of the winner.
Welcome to the Unscripted Podcast. My name's Corby LaCroix, and the song you're hearing right now is called Great and Mighty One, available on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your music. But for now, here's your host and my friend, Aaron Conrad.
Great Redeemer, God of grace.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Unscripted from my studios in Old Hilliard. Whew. Today's an exciting day. Exciting day for two people, both people on this call. It's an exciting day for me because I get to interview the amazing Abby Anderson. And it's an exciting day for her. Today's her album launch day. This is crazy to me that you would give me a little bit of time on your album launch day, Abby. Unbelievable. First of all, congratulations on your launch of your debut album. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Wow. Abby, welcome to Unscripted.
Hey, thanks for having me, Aaron. This is quite the intro, so this is gonna be fun.
It's gonna be fun. We just had a little pregame. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Let me just in case anybody missed it. Now I only have access to Spotify. Apple probably has some stats out there that I can't apparently access. Spotify, Make Him Wait has over 20 million downloads on Spotify. Another song, We Go Together, has 10 million, almost 11 million downloads. Bad Posture has 2 million downloads. I Still Love You, I'll Still Love You, has over 2.5 million downloads. This Feeling has 3 million. Like Abby, Shallow has 3 million. Your cover of Shallow. Unbelievable that I get to sit and talk to you today. It's just incredible. So what is that like? Like, let's start at the very beginning.
Okay.
I was introduced to you, not personally, but in a concert. So my daughter and I, who is now in college, but and I actually looked up the date today. It was December 6th, 2019. Do you remember that concert in Columbus?
In Columbus, yes.
Columbus, Ohio.
Oh my gosh, I do. Wasn't it like was that like a radio show?
It was.
Kind of
it was
thing?
92.3 here in Columbus,
Yes.
Ohio. Massive concert. So it was you, Dylan Scott, and Brantley Gilbert. And
Oh my gosh, yep.
you remember?
Yep.
Okay, so you come out and you drop this song called Make Him Wait. While I'm standing with my little girl, who's not a little girl anymore. She's now in that dating age. And so I just remember standing there with my arm around her, and we were both like all choked up, which is on brand for me. But that's where I was introduced to you. And so since then, I've been a fan, and I'm just so honored today to come on. So can you tell us, let's start at the very beginning. Why don't you tell us your story? Because I'm familiar with it because I've been stalking you for like 2 weeks. So why don't you tell our audience your story?
Yeah. Okay, let's do it. So I was born in San Antonio, Texas. And then my family, we all moved to Dallas when I was like 8 or 9. So growing up in Texas, also I come from a huge family. There's 7 kids in my family, 6 girls, 1 boy. More on that later. But I think growing up in Texas, like, you know, country music especially, and just good music in general is just so much a part of Texas. Yeah. And it's such like of a melting pot of just, you know, everything from like jazz to blues, R&B, country, like, you know, Tejano, like all of it. And so that's what I grew up listening to, everything. My mom is originally from Chihuahua. And so we grew up listening to, like, anytime she was in the kitchen, you know, it was always like Mexican mariachi music. I can't speak Spanish, so I'm like the worst Mexican on the planet. Like, My mom brings all the culture, okay? And my dad's this white boy from Utah, so I get like the
What in the world? How did that even happen? That's a whole nother episode.
I don't
right?
know. That's a whole other episode on their story, but it was definitely, you got a good taste of two worlds growing up. And I started playing piano when I was 5, and I don't ever remember like deciding, okay, I'm going to do music. Like it just always felt like it was just always there, and like
Right.
I was just always going to.
Mhm.
So that's
So
kind of where
you-
it all
you-
started for me.
And so you knew early on this is your passion. Like that was your lane, was going to be music. Is that right?
I say so, yeah. Like it was just always something I loved. It just was always there.
What was the first song that you really ever? So you started with piano. What was the first song you really like locked in on? What that you just jammed?
Oh my gosh, it
What
was
was
so.
your jam?
It was, man, I was on like the Judds kick when I
Okay.
turned like 7. And so I was just obsessed with everything the Judds did. The very first song I ever learned was Flies on the Butter by the Judds. It was the first song I ever covered. And I remember I played that in my 6th grade talent show. And all the kids, like, first of all, I was not cool. I was a total dork, like just kind of loner in school. And like friends with everybody, friends with no one kind of thing. And I
Interesting,
remember I
yeah.
played that song, and like all the kids were just staring at me like, what song is this? Like they're all listening to like Jason Derulo, and I'm like, have you heard of the Judds though?
Right.
So-
Know your roots.
Yeah, exactly. But no, that the Judds was like them and Silver Wings by Merle Haggard. I remember I just played those over and over and over again.
So that's crazy. So early on, you knew your country roots. I mean, you
I
just
did.
mentioned 2 like columns, pillars in the country
yeah.
community. You knew early on your country roots, and everybody else wanted to probably hear Jason Derulo. Or
Exactly.
Alicia Keys.
And nothing wrong with Jason Derulo. I love him.
Not at all. Absolutely. Super talented. So then you started through that process, and I believe, as I understood it, you at some point in your high school years, please correct me if I'm wrong, but at some point in your high school years, you said, I want to be homeschooled because I really want to lock in on music. Like you really knew that was you. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. So I remember I was all throughout my childhood, I was super involved in sports, and me and all my siblings were always just super, super busy. And I remember I started doing, this is how dorky I am. I started doing classical piano competitions all around Texas. And like when you're playing classical piano, you're talking about 2-3 hours of practice every go.
Right.
And I just remember thinking like, okay, I have school all day for 8 hours. I know I'm not going to use any of this later in life. Like I know I'm going to do music. It just is.
Yeah.
I want to like hone in on piano. I'm already touring. I was playing a bunch of shows all around Texas. And I was just exhausted. I was getting like 3 hours of sleep at night as a high schooler. And I'm like, I don't want to, like, what's the point, So I remember I told my parents, I think I was 14 or 15, asked them like, hey, you cool if I homeschool and just hone in on what I want to do? Because we all know I'm going to Nashville,
Yeah.
And my parents have always been like left to center, kind of free spirit, do whatever you want to do. So they were really cool with it and supported me in that.
So you left, and I don't mean to run through if there's anything we need to go back and cover, but because there's just a lot to cover. I got you should see my desk. I have more notes in front of me, but it's crazy, and it's unscripted normally, but I got a lot of notes in front of me. So you, as I understand it, you left home. Did you graduated at 17? Is that correct?
Barely. Yeah. I mean, this was funny. Technically, I didn't graduate, but in the state of Texas, I did. Because the state of Texas laws on schooling are like very loose. So, but I had Googled like what it takes to leave high school.
I love it.
And for homeschoolers in the state of Texas, it just says you have to have a signed affidavit by your guardian saying you're done with school.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, we're done then. Like, took the
Deuces.
ACT. Yeah,
That's right.
took the ACT, called it a day. I don't have a technical high school diploma, but like, maybe I'll go back one day and get that. But yeah.
Well, I have a feeling it ain't gonna matter, Abby.
Yeah,
given
maybe
the
not.
trajectory of where your
Hopefully
career is
not.
headed, I don't think it's gonna matter a whole lot. So that's all good. So you left home at 17 to go to
I
Nashville.
did.
Is that right? Had you ever been to Nashville before?
So I'd been like one other time. By the time I was 15, I'd made a trip out there to do some writing. So I knew a couple people. I'd met my agent, Kylan Sharp, at the time. She was at CAA, and she was a great mentor to me in my early career. And she just told me, like, hey, kid, if you want to do anything in music, you got to be here. You have to be in Nashville.
Right. I've found that myself. I mean, as my, I guess you'd call it, quote unquote, career has grown, there's just a lot that happens in Nashville that I think makes the process a lot easier when you're in proximity with the right people. But
Sure.
that said, so when did you know I want to go to Nashville? Like, what was it about Nashville based on what you just said? Like, when did you know that in your early age that I got to get to Nashville, and how did you tell your parents?
Yeah, it was for
Loaded
the
question.
songwriting.
Mhm.
It was totally for the songwriting. I mean, all the songwriters that really influenced me happened to be country artists, and I don't think that's a mistake. Country music has some of the best songwriting ever. And I knew if I wanted to be a better songwriter, I needed to be in Nashville to do that and to like be with the big guns, so to speak. And so I remember I like marched into my dad's workspace office at our home. And I just told him, I was like, hey, Dad, hopefully this isn't a surprise, but, you know, I've decided college isn't going to be my thing. I don't see why I would. And I want to move to Nashville, and I'm going to be an artist. I'm going to be a songwriter. I'm going to make this thing happen. And he just looked at me and he was like, well, you know, you're a senior next year. I know school isn't really your thing. What's to keep you from leaving now? And I was like, okay.
Wow.
So he was really, really supportive, and like, you know, what are you going to do here for 6 months? You're just going to like sit around and study something you're not going to use. Let's, you know, leave now. And I'm really glad I did.
Did they send you off by yourself?
They did, yeah. My mom and I drove out there together. It was like an 8-hour drive. Packed up the car, went out there, and she dropped me off. And was like, "All right."
See ya.
I drove her to the airport. I was bawling my eyes out, and we said goodbye, and I was good to go.
That's insane to me. So I have a son and 2 daughters. Our 17-year-old, so right at that age when you left, is still at home. But I've had to drive, you know, first day of college for my son and my daughter, the one that went to the concert with me. And that wasn't an easy day. So I can't imagine leaving them in Nashville with. Did you know when you got to Nashville, was there a plan, or was it just like, hey, Abby, here's your apartment. Good luck to you. You know, was there anything in planning?
Yeah, there was not a ton of planning. I did know we had some family friends in Nashville. So I did stay with them. It wasn't like just, you know, some random apartment on my own. I stayed with them for like a month until I kind of like got used to Nashville and felt a little more confident navigating the city. So I stayed with them. But other than that, I mean, my plan was, I was so green. I was so naive. I still am, but I remember just moving to town and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a publishing deal. I'm just going to get a record deal. Like, why not? You know, and I really thought that's how it worked, Aaron. I thought you just showed up in town, knocked on the door of a publishing office and just asked for a publishing deal. Like that's what I literally did. So.
You play a night at Tootsie's, and next thing you know, you got a multi-million-dollar.
And then you're famous. Yeah, and then you're Taylor Swift. Yeah.
That's right. Well, and we're going to talk about Taylor Swift because anyway. Okay. So when did you start songwriting? Because I think that came long before you arrived in Nashville. When you had your feet on the ground there, you were songwriting. Because I know I've read, I've heard some graduation songs, and there's a song for that. Like, you've written some stuff. Was that going on early on? And when did you I love lyrics. Like, I'm all about the music. It's awesome. But the lyric is really what, I think it's the soundtrack of our lives, music, lyrics. There's so many people that can quote a lyric, forget the beat of the song. They can quote the lyric. And so as a songwriter, I've always been, or as someone who writes songs, I've always been very interested in, like, when did you sit down and just start penning just incredible songs you've written?
Yeah, I started writing music when I was like 9. I think I wrote my first song when I was 9. And I was just always writing little jingles and stuff. And I think too, growing up in such a big family, you just do what you can for attention, And that's not any, like, I'm not slamming my parents. My parents did an awesome job. But, like, that's a lot of kids,
Right.
So
right.
I think naturally I just was always wanting to write music, and I was just always trying to perform for everybody and, listen to this. So I wrote my first song when I was 9. And then I was just writing little stuff every day.
Is it more poetry, or is it just you sitting down? Like, when you write a song, is it you just sitting down and almost journaling, or is it like writing poetry? Like, I seriously can't get my
poetry.
mind. So it's just, is it more journaling then? Is it like
no,
life?
Not at all. I am a journaler. Like, I do write in my journal every day because I got to get out what's my thoughts in my mind just for therapy, But no, when I'm writing, typically, if it's something that I'm writing by myself, typically it's like an overwhelming feeling, and I just need to sit down at the piano and just let it out. Either cry, write down some stuff, whatever. And if it's good, I'll take it to a co-writer. I've written a few songs totally by myself when it just feels easy. But typically I just enjoy co-writing. Like, other people give me energy, and they make the songs better, when you're working with someone else, typically it turns out better. So that's kind of my thing, is it always starts at piano or guitar. I'll start playing something, and then words just start falling out.
I can't get my head around that. Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't know. I mean, that's probably why I'm not in Nashville, and I can't play the piano, sing, or play the guitar. All right. So at 19, you locked in your first contract. So 2 years after arriving, and so I don't want to tell your story, but as I understand it, 2 years after you arrived in Nashville, you had your first record deal. Is that correct?
I did. Yeah, it happened pretty fast.
How did it happen?
Yeah, so when I moved to town, I was going out every single night, anywhere I could. I would ask the bouncers, I would tell them, look, I'm not here to drink. I know I'm 17. Like, I just want to sit and listen to music. And they knew me, so they'd be like, all right, whatever. So everywhere I went, if there was a songwriter that I just really, really liked that was playing, I would just go up to him, introduce myself. I wouldn't ask him for a co-write. I would just say, like, could I pick your brain? Could I take you to coffee and, like, pick your brain for 20 minutes? I just want to learn what you know. And that, I think, asking that question, asking people if I could learn from them was, like, probably the best thing I did. Awesome. Not asking them to write with me, but just asking them to be a mentor. And so through that, I just kind of created this little network of a support system. And 2 years in, I remember I'd met these ladies. Their company's called Showbiz Row, and they're independent song pluggers. So what that means is they find songs from songwriters and just pitch them to artists independently on their own. And so I had met them, and they were like, hey, we love your stuff. Like, can we book your calendar for you and just help you get some good songs in? And I was like, that'd be awesome. Yeah. So I did that with them for a few months. And then we felt like, there were some good songs in there that we felt like me as an artist. So we went in and recorded 5 of them. And then it just so happened that the label I had signed to was right across the street from their office.
Wow.
And so they were like, hey, let's, we feel like we can shop this around. This stuff is great. And so they're like, let's just start across the street. So they just walked me across the street. And it just so happened that was the first label to bite. And I ended up signing with them.
What songs did you do with them? Was Make Him Wait a part of that? It
wasn't.
Early process?
No,
it was not.
The early stuff, I don't think there is. Golly, I don't think any of the songs that I took them made. I don't think I've released any of those. Actually, they were just like so green.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it was also musically and lyrically was what I loved. Like they were all piano centered. I loved it. So I guess those are the songs that got their ears perked up, I guess.
So I heard at some point I'm curious about this too. When you arrived, were you being told who you were going to be? And I think this really leads to your album, your debut album today.
For sure.
And I don't want to put words in your mouth, just from what I've studied and learned from you. Were you being told, Abby, this is who we think you are? And I think one of the quotes I heard somewhere was the country Alicia Keys, because you play piano and you're really the entire package. And so, is that correct? Or did I get any of that wrong? Like, were you being told, Abby, you need to be this? And I don't know if Abby wanted to be that. Is that fair?
No, it's interesting. I was never like told verbally, this is who you are. It was more through actions. But no, it was interesting. Like when I first got to town, when I first showed up at that label too, I had a very clear idea of what I wanted to do musically. And it was all centered around the piano, and it was all just like what was on my heart, And I think somewhere along the way, and I wish I knew, I think I have an idea of like when it started, but for some reason I started telling myself this story and was being told this story of like, we just kind of started going down a different path. And I'm not sure why, I'm not sure how it happened. Obviously I allowed it to happen. I was 19 and looking back on that time of my life, I was such a people pleaser. And I just desperately wanted to make everyone happy.
Right.
I think that's how I had functioned most of my life up to that point, is just needing affirmation from everyone else because I didn't know how to give it to myself, or speak up for myself. I had no idea how. And I remember there were a few meetings where I was like, man, like this music doesn't feel like me. It feels too down the middle. It just doesn't feel honest. And, it's hard to tell a whole room of business people, like, you don't, I remember saying like, I don't know about this, guys. And being told back, no, it's great. It's so good, blah, blah, blah. And you can't help but believe that, because maybe they're right. Heck, they had success before. Why wouldn't they do it again? So honestly, I look back on that time, no regrets. I think everybody was doing what they thought was best. And I don't think I knew how to properly advocate for myself in that space.
Yeah. I think that's so easy to happen because, I myself I started a business almost a year ago this week, my own business. And I think there's a quote that says, you got to push away from the table when respect is no longer being served. I think that was one thing that drove me. And two is knowing your value, knowing your worth. And I think you knew who you were. And I don't ever want to speak for you, but I feel like that's what I've recognized in your story is that you knew who you were going to be and what you wanted to produce. That's got to be really hard because now you're kind of swimming upstream against what Nashville or whoever that is. I don't even know who the people are, but you're swimming against the current, but you're so steadfast in who you are. Because I think that's what I've seen in you is who you are.
Thank you. Well, and that was the hardest part too, was like knowing in your gut what you want to do and what you can do, like your potential. I saw it so clearly in my mind. but not feeling like I could do that.
Right.
And it was like going against your gut every single day and just knowing like, this doesn't feel right. This isn't right. This isn't right. But you know what, kid? Do it anyways. You know?
Right.
Too bad.
And it's so hard because you're trying to make a name. I mean, there's so many factors in play there. You're trying to make a name. You're trying to make your way. You're trying to make contacts and networking, I would think, in Nashville, in that space. And yet you're not who you really want to be. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. It was kind of more of like the shell of who I am.
Yeah.
And all that to say, Aaron, I don't know who the heck I am. Like, I'm learning every day, you know? It's limitless. Every day I'm learning something new. And I would never try to define who I am, you know?
Right.
And so that was the weirdest part was I understand marketing. I understand, like, everyone's trying to keep a job. Everyone's trying to succeed, you know? I think there was a line crossed for me, though, when I was being told, like, you're too this, you're too that, you need to be more like this, you need to be more like that. That is what made me painfully insecure, like debilitatingly insecure. Right. And I think that's when I knew, like, okay, this is not how creating music and releasing music as an artist should feel. This isn't how it's supposed to be. Right.
Can I ask you a question? This may be a difficult question. If you don't want to talk about it, you can say pass. Welcome to Unscripted. Yeah. It's a golden rule on Unscripted. I think at some point there was also some physical challenges for you in terms of what they were telling you to do. Do you want to talk about that, or you can say pass?
Oh, no, let's talk about it. Yeah, because it was a big part of my story. Somehow, I think it all started in like 2018. And I remember you get so busy on tour and on radio shows. You're just moving every single day in a different city. And so I had naturally lost, like, I didn't even realize I had lost weight. Apparently I had lost quite a bit of weight. Okay. Yeah. But it wasn't until I had started getting more attention in the office space, people saying, like, oh my gosh, you look amazing. Like, what are you doing? You've lost so much weight. And I think in my young, you know, I was 21, I guess, 21-year-old brain, I translated that to mean, oh, this is how they want me to be. This is how people like me. This is my value. Everyone's paying attention to me now, you know? Right. And obviously that was not their intention. That was not anybody's intention. I think it just naturally happens. We live in a society where, like, we're so focused on that all the time. And it's one of the reasons why I will never comment on someone's physical appearance, because you never know what is going on. They could look healthy and they could be sick as hell. Like, you know?
Right. 100%.
And so I think that was kind of this weird switch in my brain turned on, where I was like, ding, ding, ding. Okay. Affirmation. This is something I can control, right? I didn't feel musically like I had any say in the music I was releasing and how it was being marketed, how it looked. And so I was like, okay, I can control this though. I can control how I look. And, you know, I don't like my music. Well, it doesn't matter. People like how I look. So let's focus on that, you know? And the problem with that is you can only, and I don't even mean this physically, I mean spiritually, emotionally too. You can only starve yourself for so long until you snap. Right. And I think I really tried for, golly, I guess 2 years to focus on the physical. And I realize now, looking back, me starving myself physically, you know, binging, purging, I did it all. You ask what kind of eating disorder I had? I did everything, okay?
Yeah. Well, thank you for your honesty.
Back on that. No, yeah. And I look back on that and I'm realizing I was starving emotionally. I was starving spiritually. I was so empty. Yeah. Nothing I did felt fulfilling, you know? And so food, I remember I would be on tour. I would play a show full of music that I thought was just okay, honestly. And I would get off stage and just feel so empty and just feel like, and so what did I do? Immediately I went to catering and just ate everything I could to like, now I realize it was a metaphor for just trying to fill myself, you know, to feel something. And then, you know, the next day, oh shoot, you got to be on stage in a crop top next day. So we got to get rid of it. And it was just this terrible, ugly cycle of that. And what's crazy is that the second I did something out of my own peace and made a decision and acted on something that I knew in my gut I needed to do, my whole eating disorder like went away on its own. Wow. Like it was insane to me how quickly I recovered. And I know that's not everyone's experience with an eating disorder. Like they are crazy and they really mess with your head. But in my case, in 2020, I just had this feeling like I'm literally killing myself spiritually, physically, emotionally. I can't keep functioning out of, you know, what's making everyone else happy. Because everyone else around me was super happy, you know?
Right.
And yet I was miserable. Yeah. And so the second I decided to get out of that situation, to leave that record deal, I just remember walking out of that office and sitting in the parking lot in my car and just, I have never felt so happy and so peaceful, and just feeling like absolute 1000% joy and being, and just hugging myself and being like, okay, like you took care of yourself, kid. It's not that hard. Like we can do this, you know?
That was a launching point for you, correct? Like I think you absolutely. And I appreciate you sharing that, because that's it's something that people don't want to talk about. Like we don't want to talk about it because it's not, it's not comfortable, but it's something we've dealt with in our home. And I think I shared that with you in the original email to you. I didn't even know that when I made this invitation, and it just hit home even more because it is something that so many, especially in the TikTok world, like you got to look good for the TikTok. You got even, not people chasing albums, just being on TikTok. And it's so dangerous. It's so scary. And I'm glad that you were able to really connect with what I think you said it so well. It was something you can control. I don't want people to miss that because I think that really is at the root of so many of those, young ladies and guys. There's guys that deal with it too, that really feel like it's something they can control in a world where they can't control a lot of things, and especially in COVID. Like we can control anything, and that, that's scary. So thank you for sharing that.
No, thank you for asking. It's been crazy, like sharing that story and getting so many messages from young women and men dealing with the same thing. Yeah. Like it is crazy. And thank you. But I really do think, like, I wonder if the reason why more young women suffer from eating disorders is because we live in a world where we're told every day what to be, and I think it's getting better. Like I look at the world today and I'm like, there's no more labels. There's no more like, women are supposed to be this way, men are supposed to be that way. I don't think, at least for me, I didn't feel the need anymore to like literally shrink myself to please others or to make others feel more comfortable. Yeah. That's kind of the root of it, I think.
Amazing. You mentioned something earlier about your brand. You still don't know who you are. I can tell you, I think, again, I'm a kind of a music honk. I'm a music fan. I follow and I love music and all genres. It's funny what you talked about growing up, listening to all those. Cause I mean, New Edition is probably the best band that has ever played, but Eric Church is also my favorite artist. So I'm all over the place, but I think for you, what I see in you, and I'm sure you hear this a lot, it's just you. Like your personality is so contagious. The joy, the smile you have on your face right now. Like, I think there's so many artists that just go out and do their thing, and everybody's got their thing. But I think for you, it's such a contagious joy is what I see in you. And I think it's very natural. It's not for the cameras. I think it's very, very natural. And I appreciate that about you, even way back, in whatever it was, December 6th, 2019, when we saw that concert. There was just a joy in you that was very contagious. So
Thank you.
I'd say run with that. But what do I know? I've never produced a single album. So
Probably more
there
than me. Shoot.
All right. All right. So you left the album, or you left the record label. And when did you write Make Him Wait?
Oh, so I wrote Make Him Wait. I believe it was in like 2017.
Mary redeemed a $50,000 cash prize playing Chumba Casino online.
I was only playing for fun, so winning was a dream come true.
Chumba Casino is America's favorite free online social casino. You too could have the chance to win life-changing cash prizes. Absolutely anybody could be like Mary. Be like Mary. Log on to ChumbaCasino.com and play for free now. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details. The voice in the preceding commercial was not the actual voice of the winner.
And I remember what's funny is we wrote that song, and I remember thinking like, okay, this would be cool for someone else. Like, but I don't see myself singing this,
Right.
And then, so just shows you, what do I know?
Right.
But no, I remember writing that, and I'm like, I never would have thought that would be a single ever. And so I definitely warmed up to it. I think the label had heard it and was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is the first single. Obviously very thankful that they saw something I couldn't at the time.
Right. Do you think it is? So Garth Brooks has The Dance, and I'm not in any way comparing these two songs, but
please do not compare, because that song is a masterpiece.
It is. Again, maybe unfair comparison, but in a scale, economies of scale, do you think that Make Him Wait will be The Dance, or do you think you haven't?
I don't know. Honestly, like it's
a hard question.
Yeah, the competitor in me doesn't want it to be, because I always like to think that I'm going to outright myself and outdo myself.
Love it.
So honestly, I hope I write something, different, better. I don't know. I hope I beat it, because that's just fun. Just, I do think, however, it was definitely like the most important song in my career so far, for sure.
I think it's a foundation piece. And I will tell you that I think you have equaled, maybe outritten it already. So in fairness, because there's other songs. Like,
thank you.
For real. And I think some of them are on the new album, which I want to talk about. So transitioning to that, how did we get to a place where now you're ready to release the entire album?
Yeah, my gosh. Well, left my deal, depressed off my ass for like 6 months after. And I think too is because, one, it was the middle of COVID, okay? Pretty crappy year. And then two, I don't think I realized how much of my identity I had wrapped up in having a record label, being an artist, touring, writing music. Like I was so identified with, okay, music is who I am and nothing else. Yeah. And so when all of that is taken from you, you can't tour, you're not writing every day with people, you're not recording. It's like, okay, who am I? Like, what value do I have in the world? Right. And so I went through quite the identity crisis during COVID, but it also taught me, I finally learned, like, music is something I do and I love it, but it is not who I am. And those are two very different things. Wow. And I have to be able to feel my value as a human being, if, God forbid I lose my voice one day, or like that is the most important. And once I learned that lesson, I think I started writing better music that was more authentic, because suddenly I wasn't concerned with people's opinions of my music or their opinions of me, because I realized that has nothing to do with me. Right. Nothing.
Right.
So 2020 was probably the most important year for my self-growth, my growth of my artistry. didn't really do anything in music for those 6 months. And then I met my now producer, Marshall Altman, at a random show in someone's backyard. And he had come up to me because he had heard me playing, and we had known of each other. We just never really like officially met. And he was like, "Hey kid, what the hell are you doing?" Like, you know, heard you left your record deal. So what's going on? You know, what's next, the plan? Right? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I literally don't know. He just kind of picked me up like a little bird and fostered me and got me back in the studio and was like, listen, you know, let's get you in the studio. You need to write again. Let's work together. And he was like, it might be great, might be terrible. Let's just, you know, try each other out. And I remember we had started writing, and he was like, I was sitting on a chair, like not by the piano when we were writing. And he was like, hey, you're a piano player, right? And I was like, yeah. He's like, go sit your ass down at the piano then. Go play piano then. And I've never had a producer tell me that. Like, or tell me, like, you're an amazing player. Why aren't you playing piano on all the records? Like, this, that was the fundamentals of what made you an artist. It started at the piano. So sit down at the piano.
That's right.
And so, no, that was working with Marshall changed my life. Like that man, if it weren't for him, I think I would have figured out a way, but the music would not be what it is today at all.
So funny that it happened at a random show.
You know
what I mean? Isn't that how God works? Like, I mean, I just think we end up in places and we're like, I can't even explain how all this happened.
Oh, totally. I didn't even want to play that show. I was being a little brat about it. And then it was the best thing that ever happened to me. So
sometimes despite ourselves, we ended up in situations that just put us on the trajectory. So I love where you're headed.
Thank you.
I really do. I think your apps. So again, is just kind of, and again, my opinion, 50 cents might get you the paper, the local paper. It's not worth a whole lot. But I will tell you, just as a music fan, listening, really getting into the lyrics, listening. And I'm kind of a person where I'll listen to an album the first time and I'm like, yeah, I hate it. And then I'll go back and really have time to listen to it more. And I'm like, it was okay. Or then it was great. And I know when I really love an album, I hate to say it, Eric Church, actually, pretty much everything he puts out, I'm like, man, like that guy just knows what he's doing. And it's that immediate connection. And then there's sometimes where you gotta spend some time with it. That was not your album. Your album was immediate. Like, I think there's 9 songs on the new album. Is that right? 9 songs. Of the 9, there's a few that I just, gosh, I don't even know where to go and how to go about this. So we already talked about Make Him Wait, amazing song. Yeah. You wrote one for your dad, or did you? I assume you wrote the one, Daddy. Is that right?
Oh my gosh, I wrote that when I was like 15. It's
old school. Yeah, it's old school, but it's really good. Old.
Yeah.
But I think it transcends time because I'm a dad. I'm a girl dad, so you know what I mean. Like, got me over here just bawling. Listen to that one, but on the new album, there's one song I want to wait till the end to talk about, but so let's talk. Let's start with Bad Posture. Where did that come from?
So again, I wrote that about my eating disorder, and I wrote that about leaving my record deal.
Wow.
It was that was like the start of the album. It was COVID again. And the girl I wrote it with, her name is Anna Voss. She's an incredible songwriter, artist in Nashville. Such a gifted writer. And we're really good friends. And so she had come over to my apartment, and we were just hanging out, catching up. And I remember, I don't know where I got this habit, but and it might have been from like growing up in a very religious environment where I think as a girl, you just get it in your brain and you're kind of told that like you are responsible for men's thoughts of you, whether those are like quote unquote dirty or clean or whatever. And so I remember I developed this terrible habit of just slouching over and just kind of like hiding everything.
Mm.
And I remember I was riding with Anna, and like we were both slouched over. And I looked at her and I was like, dude, why do we do that? Like, why do we slouch? Like, it's so we're freaking beautiful. Like, we should be standing up straight,
Right.
And we started laughing at each other. And she was like, man, it's so funny you say that because I've had this idea forever in my phone called bad posture.
Mm.
And she was like, I don't know what it's about. And as soon as she said bad posture, I just got goosebumps because I immediately knew what it was going to be about.
Yeah.
And so I just sat down at the piano and started playing those first chords of da, da, da. And the first line I say right off the bat is, I shake myself to make you feel taller.
Whew.
And it was literally just about every feeling I had in that record deal.
Mm-hmm.
And in a strict religion, in a few people I've crossed paths with. Again, not their fault. Everybody's functioning out of what they know, and everyone's doing the best they can.
Right.
But the overarching feeling was I needed to be a certain way to make others feel comfortable.
Mm.
And I needed to be a little more quiet so that others, would feel more comfortable, and just always feeling like I'm either too loud or I'm too goofy or I'm too this, I'm too that. And I was just fed up with it.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not too anything. Like I'm a child of God. Like I'm a spirit. Like there's nothing too much about that. Right. And me and Anna wrote Bad Posture in like 30 minutes. It was the easiest song to ever write. And I just remember like we were both bawling because it was just like therapy she had been in some tough situations too, or the same thing has happened to her. I think we all have. Mm-hmm. And so it was very, very therapeutic. And I think it was probably the most important song I have written because it really did start the whole album.
Wow. So my mind's blown because the video, and now it all makes sense. And I'm sitting here thinking through it as you're talking about the lyrics, because it does that opening line. I shrink myself to make you feel better. It's stronger.
Yeah.
Was it taller?
Taller. Yeah. Same thing though. Same thing.
I'm sorry. You know what I'm talking about. Again, I shrink myself to make you feel taller. Gosh, now that like my mind's blown because you're talking about that could insert anything. The music video happens to do with a domestic situation, and it's a powerful video with the 800 number at the end. Really powerful, but I never thought of it in the thought of, goodness, that could be anything, Abby. Like, I have a feeling anybody listening to this, if you go listen to it now through a different lens, through your lens, not you, whoever's hearing this, go listen to that song through your lens. Whew. Just blew my mind, Abby. Goodness sakes. Because seriously, it's so it was powerful to me, and I wasn't in a situation like the video, but gosh, now I'm my mind's blown. I'm speechless. I don't even know what to say.
Thank you.
It's an amazing song. So Insecure. I like that one too. So let's go to Insecure.
Yeah.
Is that kind of along the same lines?
Little bit, yeah. So that's what's funny. I was doing a TikTok live last night, and I was kind of answering the same questions, and everyone was like, Abby, like, we don't get it. Like, you're happily married. Why are all these songs breakup songs? And I was like, because I had the biggest breakup of my life over the past 2 years. Like, breaking up with the girl I used to be and all the awful stories I used to tell myself, So Insecure is about the same thing. Like, it sounds like, I've just broken up with a guy and, I'm going out tonight and I'm going to be all right. And, but the line in there that says, I ain't who I was before. I ain't that anymore. Insecure. I remember, again, I was just writing about, like, being debilitatingly insecure about everything I did because I was just constantly questioned every turn I took. Again, you're too this, you're too that. Why'd you do this? Why are you posting that? Take that post down. You know what I mean? And you can't help, especially as a young girl, just feel like, golly, can I do anything right? Like,
Right.
or am I just wrong all the time?
Mhm.
Like,
Wow.
just the way I am is just wrong. And I need to be what they want me to be, you know, and just shut up. And so that's what I did for a long time. I just shut up.
Yeah.
And that didn't feel authentic. That felt pretty lame. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what Insecure is about.
It's so interesting because I think you have a chance to write your own path. As we talked about, I think there's going to be a lot of people, especially in Nashville, there's got to be people telling you to be one thing. But if that's going to be who you're going to be and be miserable the rest of your life, like, what's the point? You know what I mean?
Literally, what's the point?
Now, if it's, you know, and I think it fascinates me about the music industry. If I got millions of dollars in the bank and a big old house and, you know, I'm everybody's favorite person, or, you know what comes with fame. Was it worth it though? If I was miserable, I think there's movies written about it, right? I mean, I think Star is Born. That's the name of the movie, right? That's where Shallow came from, right? Incredible remake. But anyway, I think that's kind of that movie. You know, that whole process. It's like, well, I just want to be who I am, not what everybody wants to make me to be. So, but I've never thought about these songs through the lens of, because I think we do hear them when we hear breakups with boyfriends or relationships, and you know, we embrace them that way, but I've never thought of them through that lens. So I'm so glad that you have talked about that.
Thank you.
Okay. Where did all the cowboys go?
Oh, I love this one.
Oh, Abby, can we talk about this one? Because I love this song too. I mean, it's so good. Is it your favorite one on the album? Are you allowed to say
it's probably one? If it is one of my favorites, for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good because my mama raised me to walk on the street side and to open doors and to, where is chivalry gone? I think that's almost the question. And I think that's the question in the song. What made you write Where Did All the Cowboys Go?
So I had met my now husband. I had just met him. And I remember going on my first date with him. And I always knew, because of my dad, and growing up in a family of 6 girls, you know, I think my parents just were just honed in with us on what to expect on a date. And, you know, if a guy doesn't do this, then why stick around? You know what I mean? And it was stuff like, he should open the door. He should pay for dinner. If he's asking you out, he should be paying for dinner. He should be paying for the whole shebang, you know? Mm-hmm. And I just always love those lessons, because it's like, I don't know, I think a lot of people could argue like, oh, that's not feminist, whatever. I consider myself a feminist because I'm like, I know my worth. And that, you know, why wouldn't a man open my door? What's wrong with that?
Right.
And so I just met my husband. We went on a first date, and I had gone on some pretty crappy dates for like a good 2 months where I'm just like, golly, this is not it. This is not how I was raised. This is not the caliber, okay, that I'm looking for.
I love that.
And honestly, I wasn't even looking. I was just having fun. But he had picked me up, and it was just next level. I remember he took me on a date, and I've been on good dates before, but he was just so like unapologetically just chivalrous, kind, just like a good dude, you know? And, you know, stuff like, you know, opened my door for me, and, you know, was just asked a lot of questions, was interested in what was going on in my life. And it was just so refreshing. And so I think a week later, I was back in Nashville. I wrote this song with Josh Kerr and Troy Burgess, who are amazing songwriters. I love them. And I kind of had started it as a joke. Like, we had written one song earlier that day, and it was just like, okay. And later that day, Josh had started playing something hokey on the guitar because we were just goofing around. And I was like, off the top of my head, I was just like, where'd all the cowboys go? Kind of man that walk you home. Like, I was joking.
Yeah.
I was totally joking. And then we all kind of looked at each other, and we were like, wait a minute. That's actually kind of cool. Like, can we make it actually good?
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
And then Josh started playing on the guitar, like an actual serious melody. And it literally, again, we wrote that in 20 minutes. I think that was the fastest song I've ever written.
Wow.
It was so fast, just fell out. And I was just writing about my husband, Tyler. Just everything he did on this date. That's pretty like, I mean, my husband is exceptional, okay? He's the shit, all right? But I will say, everything he did on our first date is just kind of like the stuff that I think should be expected on any date. You know, it's not like anything crazy. And I just know a lot of girls my age feel that way. Like, golly, like, I just want a nice guy. This is not asking for a lot. Just someone who opens my door for me and makes me feel valued, you know? So I was kind of writing that for all the women, I guess. And for all the
dudes.
And the dudes. Like, I've been
Like,
surrounded by some amazing, amazing men in my life who probably feel underappreciated sometimes, maybe, or feel like girls don't want that. So it's kind of a song for everybody. Not necessarily about cowboys per se. I love cowboys, but to me, a cowboy is just someone who treats you right. That's all.
It's chivalry, and it's dead. I think it's dead, and I hate that. So let me take, because I think, you know, Make Him Wait. Where Did All the Cowboys Go? Other songs you've written, there's a theme there. So I'm an old hat. I got 2 daughters that are not far from your age. And I think that's what I see in today's world. And again, something I appreciate about you is nobody makes him wait. They don't. Yeah. It's a snap. It's a text. It's a, now we have apps and I'm not preaching. I'm just saying, like, I think the wonder of being a cowboy has been lost in how easy and accessible life is. And now I'm preaching. I'm just saying, like, I think that's what I love about those songs and why they connect with me, is because that's what I want for my girls. Like, make him wait. Don't snap. Don't, you know, you can Snapchat, but don't send something that, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm on a whole nother rant, but I think that's what the purity that I love in those songs. Does that make sense? Like, I think those songs are important. Guys, open the door, you know, all the things, like walk on the street side, make your girl feel appreciated on a date. Don't just show up and have dinner. And then, and the same for the girls, you know, make him wait. Like, anyway. All right, we're preaching.
Well, I hope that like the overarching message too is I don't think young women are taught how powerful we are.
Absolutely.
And
you gotta take that power. You gotta hold it.
Yeah, like even in whether it's like any religion or like any corporation or anything where there's like a hierarchy of power. You rarely see a woman in that position, you know? And then you're always felt like, at least my feeling growing up was, okay, my job and my place is just in the home. And I'm supposed to turn 18, get married as soon as possible, raise babies. Mm-hmm. And now I'm not saying like that is the hardest job in the world. I'm not knocking that. I have all respect for that. We need awesome mothers, okay? Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I don't even think mothers are taught or shown how powerful they are. Right. Like just women in general. And I hope that like that's a message I convey in my music, is that women are powerful. We hold all the power, you could argue, with everything. Right. And I was always taught, you know, my mom did a really great job of teaching me, my sisters, like, you guide the ship and he's going to steer it anywhere you want to go. But you're the captain, you know? Wow. And, so I hope that's the message people get, is they're very, very powerful.
I think you could write a whole book with all the songs you've written for all the things you just said. A very inspirational, powerful book. So maybe that's in the works. I mean, you're in
maybe one day.
You're in Nashville. I mean, Insecure, Make Him Wait. Bad Posture. Where Did All the Cowboys? Like those 4 songs alone. That right there. That's your book.
Thank you.
I'm just saying. So if you ever need an agent, I got you. Anyway,
there you go.
What I will say is, I think your mom and dad set the bar at the right height for you.
Yeah, and I feel really, really lucky to, like, not a lot of kids have both parents, first of all, much less great parents. Right. And so I feel really, really lucky, very privileged to have the parents that I do.
You do. So I'm so thankful we got this interview because I have a feeling, Abby, you are on a rocket ship that's going to really take off. And I'm so honored that I got to interview you before
Thank you.
I just have a feeling you're set to heights that are going to be awesome. And so I'm so honored to.
Hey, we'll see. That's the hope, man.
Again, that and 50 cents might get you today's paper. I don't know, but whatever. So you already give me an hour of your time. Do you mind if we do some rapid fire?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. How many instruments do you play?
2.
And they are?
Piano and guitar.
Piano. Can you play an electric guitar? I'm sorry, I added this. Can you play
I don't think I would. Well, not lead. I wouldn't try my hand at lead. I wouldn't let anybody listen to me.
Can you play a slide guitar?
No, but I'm gonna want to learn that. That'd be fun.
I gotta think it's pretty easy if you know all the. You know, I was when I learned how to play the piano as a child, I could play anything after that. I really could.
Really?
Like, once you read music and you can play a piano, you can pretty much figure all the rest of it out. Like,
all right, well, we'll see. I'll have to try it out.
All right, slide guitar. I want to see a TikTok with Abby playing a slide guitar.
There you go.
All right, this comes all the way from Italy, from a former Ohio State softball player who is now playing professionally in Italy. She wanted to know, shout out Lexi. She wanted to know how many rings on the phone until you answer, and how long do you recommend you make him wait on that phone?
Oh, Lexi, let's go. Man, okay, here's my thing. I will say, I only played games like that for like the first month. You know, you don't want to make it too easy. You gotta make them wonder. That's hot. You gotta make them wonder a little bit. So I would say sometimes I wouldn't answer at all and just make them wonder like, oh, I'm busy. Sorry, I missed you. You know, I would say maybe don't answer a couple times the first time he starts calling you. Call him back, obviously, but maybe like a couple hours later, and you know, that's okay. Then after a month, answer on the first ring. You know, who you trying to, you know, once you get comfortable, I wouldn't hold any cards secret.
It's perfect. That will be an absolute answer. I will be sending that to Italy here electronically as soon as we're done.
Thank you, Lexi. That's awesome.
Thank you, Lexi. If you were on a deserted island, what are the 5 albums that you want with you?
Oh, that's a good one. I would say first one is Heart of a Wheel by Linda Ronstadt.
Goodness.
And then Come Away With Me, Norah Jones, for sure.
So good. So good, yeah.
And then the Ray Charles album. Probably, 5? Oh, Joshua Tree, U2, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Come on. Yeah.
For
so
sure.
Good.
Oh,
so
and
good.
then Call Me Crazy, Leanne Womack.
Oh my goodness. Is there any chance I could trade out or convince you to trade out is New Edition before your time? Do you know who New Edition is? You don't know who New Edition is,
I know. I'm not super familiar, but you mentioned them twice now, so I'm gonna go get to know them better after this.
You gotta go listen to New Edition's greatest. It's the greatest album ever. Do you know who Belva DeVoe is? You've heard Poison, right?
I've heard Poison,
the song
yeah.
Poison? Yeah. Okay. So that's 3 of the guys from the band New Edition. Anyway, we got to have another call so I can update you on New Edition. Anyway, could I trade out an Eric Church album?
Matt, I love Eric Church. I've been more of like his top 40 Eric Church type of person. Okay. Right. I know that's a really crappy thing to say. I love him. I think he's dope. But like top to bottom listening, I have not, no.
You haven't,
I probably won't after saying this now. So he's going to hear this and be like, screw you, Abby Anderson.
Abby, I'm pretty sure Eric Church doesn't listen to my podcast.
Yeah, you never know. You never
know. He might. All right, 2 more. How many bathrooms were in the house that you grew up with 7 children and 6 girls, and was there a schedule?
Oh, gosh. The house we grew up in, 3 bathrooms. And you said how many bedrooms?
How many bathrooms? And was there a schedule? So you had 7 children, 2 parents, 6 of them girls. How many bathrooms, and was there a schedule?
Yep. 3 3 or 4 bathrooms in the house I grew up in. It was a good size house. It was awesome.
Okay.
And then no schedule. We were just fighting all the time.
Just fighting.
All the time fighting. Yeah. It's good for character, you know?
Yeah. Have you ever seen the movie? See, I just added another one. Have you ever seen the movie Horton Hears a Who?
Yes.
So is it kind of like that where remember he had 100 kids? Like 99 daughters and 1 son? Was it kind of like that at your house or no?
We were just always fighting about, like, you know, you took my shirt and, you know, hitting each other. I don't know. We're all best friends, though. We're still super close.
That's awesome. All right. You gave me way too much time. Here's the last question. What's the best advice your parents ever gave you?
Ooh. The best advice, they've always said this, is just ask. They've always said ask. Whether that's, you know, asking for the job you want or asking someone for their time, asking the universe in prayer or just manifestation, just ask for everything you want.
Yeah. All right. So you have a concert in August 30th?
August 30th. Yep. Headliner show in Nashville.
Pretty sure I'm going to be there. One way or
another.
Oh,
let's go. Thank you, Aaron.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to be there. But all right. So August 30th in Nashville. How do people get tickets? Do you know?
I actually need to post this today. But yeah, you can just go to my website, abbyandersonmusic.com, and it'll take you to the ticket link.
And all your socials, you are on socials. What's your favorite social that you use?
Probably TikTok right now.
TikTok. That's
I
where it's
love
at,
TikTok.
right?
It's awesome.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
So how can people find you there? Probably
you just
through your
find
website,
me at Abby Anderson Music.
Abby Anderson Music. I know you're on Twitter and you don't respond to tweets, which is fine.
Yeah, sorry. I literally, no, Aaron, this morning I was like, I have not been on Twitter in a month because I don't love Twitter. It's just kind of a negative app to me. So I was on there today to like update my banners and actually tweet about like, oh, P.S. I have an album. And then I see all these tweets from you and I'm like, well, I'm an asshole. He's probably like, who's this pretentious little brat thing she
No,
is?
you're probably like, who is this freak that keeps tweeting at me?
Golly. I'm just not on Twitter. That's not a you thing. That's a me thing. I'm not on.
That's fine.
You know,
I'm going to put that out just so everybody doesn't think I'm stalking you on Twitter.
There you go.
We didn't talk about Juicy. All right, very quickly.
Oh, we need to talk about Juicy.
All right, let's talk about Juicy. That's a single. It's a hard left turn from everything else you've done.
Sure.
I love the Bruno Mars kind of 70s. I mean, I was born in the 70s. I'm old. I kind of like that feel. I like the vibe, the little Soul Train kind of thing. Let's talk about Juicy.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Juicy too. Again, it's about like I had recovered from my eating disorder, and I think I was just trying to like get used to like eating disorders are such a mind F because even when you're sick and people are telling you, oh, you look amazing, you look so healthy, you're like, okay, but I'm like so sick, you know?
Right.
And so obviously I gained weight in my recovery, and it was just, even though I felt good, I noticed that like it was just weird trying to like get used to the way I looked again, you know?
Comfortable in your skin.
And,
right?
Yeah, comfortable in your skin again. So to me, like Juicy, I wrote that one about recovery, but also just being juicy, like spiritually, emotionally, just being full in every way. And I like, I don't have to starve myself in any way, and I can be loud. I can be who I am. I can just be full. That's what it's about.
I love it. I love the album. The album is out today. Sugar Spice. Where did the title come from? I keep asking you more questions, Abby.
No, do it. It's okay. So the song Sugar Spice is one of the titles. It's track 6 on the album. And we wrote that song, and I was like, golly, like, that feels like an album title to me because I'm sugar and spice. You know, I'm a little bit of everything. It's kind of all, you know, it's the umbrella of everything. So
there it is. It is out today, and it's out on all platforms, correct?
Yes, sir.
There it is. Abby, you are wonderful.
Thank you.
Knew it before we got on today. I've been telling people for a week, driving everybody I know crazy. Like, just talking about Abby Anderson to the end of the earth. I am your hype man. I will be your hype man if you ever need it. I'm just such a fan of your whole story, your joy for life, everything that you're doing. I'm just such a fan, and I'm so honored that you would come on the day your album is released, your debut album. So everybody listening, please go check out her website, follow her on socials, and by all means, please go check out the album. It's so good. It's so good. I'm proud of you. I don't even know you, but I'm proud of you.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. This was awesome.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's do it again. We'll talk soon.
Let's do it. Yeah, I'm down.
I'll see you August 30th in Nashville. Somewhere I'll be in that concert, I promise.
Awesome. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate it.
Right,
Talk later. Bye.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Unscripted Podcast with your host, Aaron Conrad. Make sure to like, share, follow, and review on your favorite podcast platforms. Also, make sure to check out my song Great and Mighty One on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you find your music. We'll see you next time on Unscripted with Aaron Conrad.